Welcome, everyone. This is Coaching in Session. My name is Michael Rearden, and I will be your mindset coach today. And today we're going to be talking about the contract of life. Now, when we think about a contract, we think of it as a binding agreement between two individuals. So I can have a contract with a landlord. I can have a contract with a facilitator, like if I'm leasing a car or something along those lines, a bank. I can have a contract telling me something. If I'm building a house, I can have a contract for the builder, for the engineers, etc. Everyone has responsibility. Sometimes when it comes to the consumer type of contract, there's going to be some type of value proposition that has to be traded. For example, a contract between me and my clients is I'm going to give them XYZ amount of coaching, whatever package they choose. And then from there, the contract in my mind is I'm going to be making sure that I'm giving them the best service and care possible. They are going to have the contract of, they have purchased something and what they get out of it is actually what they put into it. Because I can't make a person change. I can definitely try. I can say, hey, I'm going to wake you up in the morning and I'm going to send over breakfast so you can have some food to eat, and I'm going to get you a Lyft or Uber ride to the gym so you can get a good workout in. We can facilitate that, of course. But the reality is, if you don't want it, you're not going to get it. So there is a contract between individuals. But what about life? Have you ever envisioned yourself having a contract with life? Sometimes people just think life is life. People think that, what is the meaning of life? To live and to suffer and to die, or to live and to maybe find happiness and then die. There are going to be different minds for different folks. We look at the aspect of what type of mindsets there are, right? You can have a growth mindset. You can have a fixed mindset. Which one should we be looking at? We understand by now that the growth mindset is going to be more beneficial. But even if you have a growth mindset, are you giving yourself the best life possible? Well, today we're going to be looking at my most recent blog, The Contract of Life, and how we can utilize this to help us see the bigger picture. All right, everyone, if you're new to the podcast, new to the channel, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and to share the video and or audio to help build a community of individuals who want more out of life. They are tired of getting what they have got and they want something different. Imagine if I said, your whole life, I'm going to just feed you one thing. You get to pick two. I'm not even going to pick the thing for you. So you might really love spaghetti and meatballs, but guess what? You're going to get tired of it. Maybe you really enjoy pizza, but you're going to get tired of it. Maybe you really enjoy steak, but you're going to get tired of it. There's something that you need. And there's something that the body needs. The body just doesn't need steak. It doesn't need just the fat and the protein. It needs some carbs. Of course, we can train our body to adjust and not need as many carbs. But the reality is there is a balance to us. And in a sense, the contract of life is a balancing act. Everything has to have, the sets and balances, because if we are going to go on this journey of life and things are not balanced, we're going to find ourselves like the Leaning Tower of Pisa, right? And then you have to have a whole set of crew people making sure the tower is safe and it doesn't fall over. This is a problem when we just could have said, let's build this Tower of Pisa and make sure it's not leaning. Our life does not have to be, leaning and bent. And again, our life is not supposed to be perfect, but then to some degree, we should be going and having a system that is going to be beneficial, easy to follow, and repeatable. And that's the answer, or that's the question. Is your life repeatable? $1 million question. Many people don't realize that. Can someone take your life, replicate it, and get the same thing that you got? You can look at different situations and circumstances, but the reality is your life is unique, because perspective is always going to be that determining factor for how it is going to be. That means life adjusts to perspective. So I can look at the contract of life and I can say, mindset is going to shape our perception, and the world that we interact with around us is going to be based on that. So if I'm perceiving the world as good and someone is perceiving the world as bad, who is wrong? Who is following their contract of life appropriately? because they can look at the world as bad and then try to create good. And I can say that the world is good and say the world doesn't need to be changed because everything is perfect. As you can see, I just flipped the script. You would think that if I'm thinking the world is good, all right, everything is good, I have a growth mindset, this is powerful. Versus the person that has the view of the world is bad, they can make enhancements. There's a different view on it. What is your purpose in life? Sometimes people, they say that the contract of life is your purpose, your why, the reason why you do the things you do. Because I can be good and I can say I want good for the world. And then I can be bad and I can say, I don't care what happens to the world. I can just be passive. But the reality is there's going to be daily obligations that we have to follow. And in this article, we talk about the different nuances to the contract of life. I am going to be going a different direction for the podcast. We are going to be talking about the contract of life, what you're going to do in the beginning, the middle, and the end of your life, and the systems that you should be developing and creating. The contract of life is going to be a wonderful read. I encourage everyone to check it out. This next part, you are not going to want to miss it because we're going to be talking about the reality of what truly is life. The contract of life, when I think about it, it is something you sign the moment you take your first breath. It is something that is set in stone, but the reality is not everyone is going to be able to fulfill their contract. Sometimes life happens and it happens not according to our plan. Sometimes that plan can be that we're going to live a long, healthy life. We're going to make an impact in the world. Sometimes we're going to lose our focus and lose ourself and lose our meaning, and we're going to become lost. And we're going to be trying to figure out, well, what do we do? How can we adjust? And I encourage people to look at the bigger picture. What is life to you? What is the contract that you assign with life? I'm sure you probably heard about the idea of selling your soul. I have been thinking about this quite a bit, especially with all the things happening in our world, all the politics, all of the news, and we can look at celebrities and what's happening and how, politicians can have a salary of $100,000 or $200,000 and they find themselves in 4 or 5 years to be $29, $30 million richer. We can say it's insider trading. We can say that, it was luck. But the reality is it was a person selling their soul to a degree. If you do not sell your soul when you are a person that is in the limelight, I'm not in the limelight. I have a little podcast and have a little business and we make our waves and stuff like that. But the significance of it, maybe one day it's going to be big and maybe one day I'm going to be presented an opportunity to sell my soul. And I already told my wife, I was like, I'm not selling my soul. One of the clients I have, he's a big guy, not to fit like a physical big guy. One of the things I told him, I said, I think the most powerful people in the world can't be bought. And he was like, yeah, that's true. Because the people who can easily be bought cannot stand true on their values because they might say my values are my values. My beliefs are my beliefs. But the moment that their beliefs and their values are no longer appropriate according to their handlers or the people that are around them, their associates, their peers, whatever, their constituents, those beliefs and those values are going to change. So you voided your initial contract of life, what you thought life was, your values, your beliefs, your identity that you created. This is not to say that you are a person that is backtracking and you are doing the wrong thing. It's just interesting how life goes. You can be saying, I want to build this house. I'm under contract. This is good. And then all of a sudden you change, right? Your view changes. Maybe you have this idea for a logo or a mural or blueprint for a house. And then all of a sudden you change. I want to change. But the contract doesn't say this. There's so many changes that a person can make. It's almost like it's limited. It's not finite. But what if we said that we can become more simple in how we approach life? Let's look at the beginning of life. At the beginning of life, we are trying to make a wave. We are these young children. We're looking at our parents. We're full of love and affection. We're very emotional. We're crying. We're jumping off things. We're experimenting. And before you know it, we are becoming more independent. They call it the terrible threes, right? Or the terrible twos, but it's really more like the terrible threes. They have a hard time communicating, but then they're also trying to dive into being independent. I want to do this myself. So in life, we begin at a young age that the contract is not community and unity, but by myself. What if we said, instead of going down that path of continually saying, I'm going to keep on making my kids more independent from me, but we are going to make it more interdependent style where we all function together. What would happen in life? I'll leave it up to your own imagination because it's not something for me to really say. Of course, you can ask me. I'll be more than happy to tell you. But then we get into the middle of life. We have become independent. We are going out with our friends. We're asking to borrow the car. We are going on the bus. We're breaking out of the house, sneaking out of the house to do whatever. At some point, we say, this is fun. This is living. But then the reality is we might not be true to ourselves for a long term if we keep on going down that path. That's why later in life, when you're an adult now, that contract that you have been following is almost like you don't even want it anymore. It's like a house that you have more overhead than you have equity in. Why in the world are you going to keep something that's more expensive than what you're going to get if you sold it? So most people, they call it, like you're underwater. So they say, I'm just going to let the house go. They let their life go. They say, what's the point? What's the point of even trying? So they stay in their 9-to-5s. They don't push in their relationships. They're not go-getters. They're not going to be someone who is enthusiastic to enhance themselves and to, fight through the day for something better tomorrow. They just say, you know what? What's the point? This is reality. Life is not that. Life is not about accepting the least amount of money, the least amount of happiness. Because let's imagine this for a second, right? So, housing is pretty big, right? Not saying the market is good, but housing is big. You typically want, if you are a buyer, the cheapest cost. If you are a seller, you want the highest amount. Those two things contradict each other quite a lot. If I'm the seller, I'm trying to get the most money versus if I'm the buyer, I want to pay the least amount of money. Who wins? Who loses? This is the reality of life. We are all, in a sense, both the buyer and the seller. We have to know when to buy, know when to sell. And if we don't know when to buy, know when to sell, this is when more hardship starts to seep into our life at every corner. Because we have not created a contract that is 100%, this is what we want. It might be 90% of what we want. Heck, we would accept 50% of what we want. I used this example a couple weeks ago. I said, like a person can be bought, like think about like selling the soul again, where if you're a guy and you want to spend some time with a lady or something like that, I'm not promoting this or anything, but I'm just trying to use it as an example, where you can say, would you go out with me for $1 million? And the girl says, yeah, sure, I'll go out with you for $1 million. You're like, well, I don't have $1 million, so you kind of say, I don't have $1 million, but I do have 100,000. Would you go out with me for $100,000? And she's like, yeah, I would go out with you for 100,000. So you already got a $900,000 discount on what you initially thought, right? So you are trying to buy and she's trying to sell. She just lost a $900,000 evaluation on herself. Call it her soul. I'm worth 100,000. But then let's say she gets that 100,000. But then the next person says, you know what? I'm not going to pay 100,000, but I will give you 75,000. Yeah, sure, 75 will work. Okay, cool. Next person. They say, well, I'm not going to give you 75. I'm going to give you 60. 60 is fine with me. Then we go to 30, or maybe we go to 50, then 45, and then 30. Before you know it, you're at 25. Then you're at 20, then 15, then 10, then 5, then 1,000, and then maybe just a couple $100. How did this evaluation go from being this $1 million figure to just a couple hundreds of dollars. It's because our mindset has not realized our true value. And in life, we squander it every single day. The contract of life is when you wake up in the morning, you have an opportunity. You get a breath, you get a chance to walk, to move towards something. But yet, what do? Do you do the same mundane things that are not bringing about abundance in your life? Do you continue to do the things that are not bringing about fulfillment and happiness, that are helping you edge a little bit closer to the person that you dream of? You say, I'm just going to kind of stay here. It's just another day. It's just another week. It's just another month. It's just another year. It's just another life. And before you know it, life is over. The contract of life is saying that there is something there. Some meaning should be present and should be created. But yet many people, they squander it. Many people don't realize that they have the potential to do great things in their life. When will you start taking action? In closing, I encourage everyone to check out this read, The Contract of Life. It is going to be an eye-opening experience for many. For some, it's going to be a reminder. And when you're trying to figure out what is your contract of life, there's going to be many things that you have to understand, the balance of who you are. For example, the foods you eat. There's a balanced diet. I'm sure you've heard of it. The aspect of surrounding yourself with good people, right? Sleeping good. There's amount of challenges you have to give yourself every single day. Understanding your values and your goals and committing to your aspirations. Whatever it may be, this is a contract that is not written on paper, but is written in our minds and our souls. And if we don't allow this contract to come to terms, we're going to find ourselves on the other end unhappy and compromised. There's a lot when it comes to life. I say that in life, there's no meaning. Life has no meaning. But we get to create meaning in life. The contract of life is that opportunity that you can create meaning. When you invest in a business, for example, you might say, I want 10% of your company and I want royalties for every single unit you sell. But guess what? What would happen if the company now goes downhill? The evaluation of the company is less than what you have purchased it for. And then also, you are not selling anything. So you're not even getting a royalty on those units. You're in a sinking ship. Life does not have to be that sinking ship. Life can be profitable. And I'm not even only talking about money. I'm not talking about finances only. I'm talking about abundance. I'm talking about love and happiness and fulfillment. All of those things can be there. They're all available to everybody. But not everyone is going to be willing and able to get them. So if we understand that there's a contract out there that we can accept and that we can take towards something better, why are we not taking it? Why are we taking the less version? Why are we taking the least amount of money? Why are we allowing ourselves to be belittled and allowing ourselves to depreciate at a rapid rate when we should be enhancing ourselves and increasing in value? Our mindset is a powerful thing. And if we allow it to run and go by the waysides, we are going to continually to have hardships and we're going to continually to find struggle and we're going to wonder why we are not making changes in our life. This is something that you can try to do by yourself. It might work, but the reality is most people, they need someone to help them. They need a coach, they need a guide, they need a mentor. They need someone that's going to be on their side to look at their blind spots, but then to also look at them and to see what is possible. I find that the best coaches, the best individuals understand that they can't do this by themselves. Even myself, I know I can't do it by myself. That's why I have a team. That's why I decided that even if I gave myself this idea of starting a company and I was that only person in my mind at the time, I realized that I needed to create space for other individuals. I needed to create room. In order to grow, in order to build, you need a room. Life, it needs space. It needs a whole landing strip to land. It needs a whole airfield in order to take off. This is not something that we just do like, okay, we have a small thing. We're focusing on the small thing. Life is grandiose. Life is big. We need to start to act like that. We need to grow. We need to continue to prosper. We need to see the areas where we can push. We need to bring some awareness when we need to take things back. Because again, life can be exuberant, but then there's also going to be things in life like drinking and partying and drugs and stuff like that, where it might make us feel good, right? The contract of life. Life is supposed to be enjoyable, right? We're enjoying it. But sometimes in moderation, things are good. And sometimes in moderation, things are not good. Being weak and taking our time and not being active and being pronounced in limitation is not a good thing, right? We don't want to be limited in that. But the things that are crutches and vices for us, smoking, alcohol, not beneficial for the most part. I'm not saying that you can't enjoy those things, but we figure out what is going to help bring this contract to completion. What's going to give our life meaning, fulfillment, happiness, a pleasure to be in. Because most people are suffering in life. So if you find yourself at the other end and you're not happy with your life, if you're not happy with the outcome, check out the links in the description box below. Reach out to us at Reven Concepts. We'll be more than happy to look at what's going on and to help you with any of your needs and to help you with any of your struggles that you're going with. You are not in this fight by yourself. So stop acting like this contract is only you versus the world. It is us versus the world. The only thing you have to do is find your team. My name is Michael Rearden. I'm a mindset coach. If you have any questions, reach out to us here at Reven Concepts. You can always email us again at coachinginsession@gmail.com, and we'll be more than happy to help you along that way. Until the next episode of Coaching in Session, everyone, take care.